Hey drivers, a few years ago, I got the chance to drive a Ferrari on a racetrack. It was an experience I'll never forget, and it's one that stuck with me ever since. Let me tell you why that experience changed my perspective on sim racing, and why I think so many of us are on the never-ending pursuit of realism. Every once in a while, I'll be trying a new sim in my simulator, tweaking a wheel setting or watching another discussion online about which sim is the most realistic. And every now and then, my mind goes right back to the day that I was in that Ferrari. Because it got me thinking about something I don't think we really talk about enough. What are we actually chasing when we say we want realism? Is it better force feedback, more accurate physics, better graphics, more immersion, or is it something else entirely? The more I thought about it, the more I realized that every simulator seems to be chasing a different aspect of realism. And maybe that's exactly why we have different favorites. So let's talk about it. When someone asks me what the most realistic simulator is, I honestly don't think there's a simple answer to that. The more sims I've played over the years, the more I've realized they're all trying to achieve realism, but they're not all chasing the same thing. Take Automobilista 2 for example. Every time I jump into AMS2 in VR, I can't help but smile. The lighting, the weather, and the sound, and the sense of speed all comes together to create one of the most immersive sim racing experiences I've ever had. It also runs surprisingly well on my PC, which means I spend more time driving and less time fighting with graphics settings. Then there's iRacing. If I'm looking for serious online competition, that's usually the place where I go. The structured racing, the quality of the competition, and the way the wheel communicates what's actually happening with the car, it's a great feeling. When people ask me what sim keeps the most focus, it's probably iRacing. Then you've got the original Assetto Corsa. Even after all these years, I still find myself coming back to it. For me, it has some of the best all-around driving physics out there, and then there's an incredible modding community, and the variety of cars and tracks, and it's easy to see why it's still one of the most popular simulators around, not to mention it's also cheap. Assetto Corsa Competizione is another one. It isn't trying to be everything for everyone, it's built around GT racing, and because of that, it does GT racing exceptionally well. Then you got rFactor 2, which a lot of people praise it for its tire model and the way it communicates. And then of course you have rally simulators like Assetto Corsa Rally. They bring an entirely different challenge because driving on dirt asks for very different things, both the driver and the simulation. So when you step back and look at all of these games together, something starts to become pretty clear. They're all chasing realism. They're just chasing different parts of it. Some focus on immersion, some focus on competition, some focus on physics, and then there's others that focus on one discipline of motorsport or another. And then of course you got titles like AMS2 that try to cover everything, which is really difficult, so kudos to them for getting as far as they have. So if you can see what I mean, they all have very different disciplines, so it's really hard to compare one to the other. So that's what brings me back to the Ferrari. Driving that real car in real life on a real track gave me a benchmark to compare them to, especially for GT cars. And yes, I know that wasn't a GT variant. So the thing that surprised me the most on that day wasn't the speed, and it wasn't necessarily the steering, a little bit, but the biggest one was braking. And like a lot of people, I had always heard that if you wanted realism, you should make your brake pedal as stiff as possible. That always sounded logical to me because race cars have stiff brake pedals, right? But when I was out on the track, I realized I wasn't just pushing a brake pedal with my leg. Every time I got on the brakes after a long straight, my whole body wanted to keep moving forward. I mean, it was pushed into the brake. Those G-forces were helping me apply pressure to the pedal without me even thinking about it. Then I came home, climbed back into my racing simulator, and realized I'm just sitting in a chair. There's no G-forces pushing me forward. Nothing is helping me press the brake like in that Ferrari. That completely changed the way I looked at braking feel completely. Maybe matching the exact stiffness of a real car isn't automatically more realistic if one of the biggest parts of braking is completely missing. The same thing goes for steering. Modern direct drive wheels are incredible. They communicate grip, weight transfer, curbs, understeer, and oversteer better than I've ever imagined. But in a real car, the steering wheel isn't the only thing giving you feedback. Your back feels the seat loading up. Your hips feel the car rotating. Your head moves with the cornering forces, and your neck is working. Your inner ear is constantly helping your brain understand what the car is really doing, and your entire body becomes part of the driving experience. And motion rigs can recreate a piece of that. Base shakers add another layer, and seatbelt tensioners add another layer to that. But sustained G-forces, the feeling of your body being pushed sideways through fast corners, those are incredibly difficult to recreate at home. Then there's another part of realism that I think is even harder to simulate. And of course, that's risk. When I was driving that Ferrari, every decision mattered. And when I do autocross, it matters. And hopefully the worst thing that happens when I'm doing autocross specifically is that I hit a cone. But there's always something on the line. It's my car or someone else's car. It's my safety. It's my responsibility to make a good decision. That naturally changes how you drive completely. In sim racing, if I completely blow a braking point or spin the car out, it's like, I'll just hit reset. And honestly, I think that's one of the greatest strengths of sim racing. I can experiment with different braking points, different lines, different setups, and learn from every mistake without worrying about repair bills, or even whether I can make it back another day to the track. And that makes for an incredible learning environment. So I can get home from work, jump into almost any car I want, drive tracks from all over the world, compare setups in minutes, review replays, study telemetry, and immediately put what I've learned back to practice. Most of us would never have access to those opportunities in real motorsport. So let's go back to the question from the beginning. What are we really chasing? Well, what we're chasing is like that experience that I had in that Ferrari. And that is the truest form of realistic driving, and the truest feel you're going to have is behind the wheel of a real car. If the sim rig can't be put on the track physically, it's going to be very hard to experience what I experienced in that Ferrari. So with that said, I had to sit back and think, okay, which of these sims caters to most of those things? Well, the original Assetto Corsa does great. It has an excellent foundation. You have great physics, you have very low demand on your computer, which is amazing. You also have incredible force feedback. And then there's VR for the immersion. VR on Assetto Corsa is very clear and sharp just because it doesn't demand as much from your PC. So really, I can get most of those things if I just modify and do a few things with Assetto Corsa. So if I had to choose, Assetto Corsa would be the one that I feel is the most realistic. So another thing that my experience in that Ferrari taught me all those years ago is that realism isn't just about making the wheel heavier or the brake pedal stiffer. It's about learning to think like a driver. That involves making smoother inputs, understanding your grip, and building consistency. And if your simulator is helping you become a better driver, I'd say it's already doing exactly what it was designed to do. Now is the portion where I love to hear from you guys. When you think about realism in a simulator, what comes to mind first? And more importantly, why does it come to mind? Is it the immersion, the physics, the competition? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And before I wrap up, as I always say, I think you will enjoy my book, The Standard of Driving. It's a sim racing guide to control, consistency, and speed. It's built around improving the skills that actually make you faster instead of feeling like you always need to buy the next upgrade. If you'd like to check it out, there's a link in the description below at drivestandardbrand.com. If you enjoyed today's conversation and you're looking for more helpful sim racing content, check out this next video. Thanks for watching this episode of The Standard Line, and as always, drive safe and save it for the track.